Hey, it's your old pal Chris in the car, not in the bathroom. In 1986, I think it was 1986. I meant to check before recording this, but I just got home. I'm kind of in a rush to go to bed. I got to make this video. 1986. Let's just go with that. The Transformers, the movie, had two articles in the title. The Transformers, the movie, came out. I desperately wanted to see it because I was obsessed with the Transformers. So obsessed that I lost friendships over it, or at least kids made fun of me for it. There was one school year when we were all into the Transformers, and then the next school year I showed up and I was still into the Transformers, but I was informed by two of my friends that that was not something we were supposed to be into anymore. But I've never paid attention to that shit. And as much as it hurt to lose those friendships, I kind of just continued to like what I liked. But 1986, I was supposed to go see the Transformers. I wanted to go see the Transformers, and yet I never did while it was in the theater. Later that year, or maybe early the next year, I can't remember exactly when it came out, my Uncle Austin, I don't know if he was my uncle yet at that point. I don't know if they'd gotten married. Anyway, I'm just going to go with uncle. He eventually became my uncle. My Uncle Austin worked on a local military base, and my recollection is that they were going to show the film. This is after it had gone out of theaters. They were going to show the film right there on Fort Devens, nearby where I live, and that Uncle Austin was going to take us. But then at the last minute, something came up. Didn't get to go see it. And so when it finally was going to come out on home video, we had to go to the video store the next town over in the big city of Lowell, Massachusetts, to a place called Landmark Video, and put ourselves on a waiting list to get a copy of the Transformers, the movie, on VHS to rent. We rented it. My dad taped it. He had like the 2 VCR thing going on, like a lot of dads in the 80s, I'm sure. Maybe just mine. I don't know. And so we had that copy, and we had it forever, and that was grand. I eventually got a DVD of it. Recently got an iTunes version just so I could have a version that was available on all of my stuff, not just the version I'd ripped from my DVD. I like this movie. It's a cheese fest, but it's way better than anything Michael Bay ever made. Just gonna go right out there and say that. It is, there are great articles out there on the internet about how this movie affected my generation. You got to take this in perspective. We watched years of the Transformers on TV. 4:30 in the afternoons is when I recall it being on. 4:30 in the afternoon. And I think it was on in the mornings eventually as well. Maybe it was on at both times. We watched them, and nobody was ever really in peril in the Transformers. And then the movie comes out, and within the first 5 minutes, a planet voiced by Orson Welles eats a whole planet of robots. The Decepticons, the bad guys of the whole series, take over an Autobot, the Autobots are the good guys, take over an Autobot ship and kill everyone on board. Not just sort of like blast them and then they're knocked out or whatever. They kill them. They make a point of showing smoke coming out of the fucking robot's eyes. This was insane. There are articles on the internet about this. And so we're already like, oh my God, anything can happen. But we don't really think that yet, because then the ultimate killing blow comes, and Optimus Prime fights Megatron and gets killed. The hero of the entire franchise gets killed, and it's basically the end of Act 1. That's it. Boom. Goodbye. Optimus Prime is dead. And now Judd Nelson and Robert Stack are gonna be our leaders. I mean, it's eventually gonna be Judd Nelson versus Leonard Nimoy, but you know. But all of this is to say that one of the most powerful bits. Now I don't know whether I was going to call this the death of Optimus Prime, but now I want to call it Judd Nelson versus Leonard Nimoy. I think that's what I gotta go with. But all this is to say that one of the most affecting pieces of music I've ever heard is the song that is titled "The Death of Optimus Prime" by Vince DiCola on the Transformers the movie soundtrack. And DiCola does a fantastic job with the entire soundtrack, blended with songs by Stan Bush and Weird Al Yankovic and a bunch of other... is Instruments of Destruction the name of the band? Or the song? A bunch of other sort of bands you've never heard of. It's a great, great fucking soundtrack. But the death of Optimus Prime still gets me emotional. I'm 40 years old. I'll be 41 next week. And the death of Optimus Prime still gets me. And all of this is to say, I haven't even gotten to the point. Tonight, my friend Brendan, not Brandon. Brandon, happy birthday. Brandon Batista finished his project, his BB-40 project. I don't know if I mentioned that on the day he turned 41. I mentioned it to him over on his channel. At any rate, so my friend Brendan, not Brandon, my friend Brendan and I, who I've known since high school, Brendan invited me out to go see The Transformers, the movie, in the movie theater in 2018. Finally, 22 years later, finally, I got to see The Transformers, the movie, in a movie theater, which was pretty cool, I just gotta say, on a day when I spent most of my free time checking in on a Supreme Court hearing that I probably, for the sake of my own sanity, shouldn't have been paying attention to. So anyway, The Transformers, the movie, you should check it out. Leonard Nimoy versus Judd Nelson versus Leonard Nimoy. I think that's the title.